Hello, I'm Jeffrey K. Horkins. And these are all the same people who were before, but it's not table talk time just yet. It's a new thing that I don't think it's a thing. I think that it just seemed like a cool opportunity to talk to some nerds about something that is super interesting. So my son is part of a social skills group over the summer. And I actually saw you guys there, but I already knew who you were. But you were playing a game with a kid, but I didn't understand it. It seemed like you were it was like a dungeon mastering type game, but it was almost like a text adventure, but you were doing it in speech.
Yeah, that's a Parsley game.
Yeah, what's a Parsley game?
So it's a game. I think it's the company that made it was called Memento Mori.
Okay.
And these are called parsers, and it's
okay. So it is like a text adventure.
Yes,
is exactly.
So I discovered it actually at PAX when I played one with Andrew Looney of Looney Labs. He played one that he made up, so I got to play with them. And the idea is that one person is basically the computer.
Yeah.
As an old parser, and then everybody else takes turns inputting a command. And it's fun because you as the computer take everything very literally. And so when they're trying to have like a social conversation with me, I say that I give a sort of a computer-like response to it. And then they feel frustrated and the next person goes and they learn from their mistakes and stuff. It's super fun.
So that that particular social skills group is over at Ryther. Mm-hmm. So do you guys spend a lot of time working with local crews like that? Actually, just start out by telling your deal.
Yeah,
we should
intro them. Jump right in.
No, because I saw that like in the middle of the summer, and I've been curious about it for months. So I had to answer my questions. But here, let's go back. You are both named Adam, which is very convenient, but it's actually Adam Johns and Adam Davis.
That's right.
Technically. But Adam is fine for the most part, it seems like. So go into your deal, because when I knew you, you were Wheelhouse Workshop, but now you're doing a nonprofit, moving sort of like the charity route. So why don't you break the whole thing down?
It's totally true. So we were Wheelhouse Workshop for 4 years. Was it about that?
And there were articles and shit about it.
There were articles and shit, and there was tons of stuff that was like going on that we were really trying to promote it and stuff like that. And we got told a long time ago, actually, that it would be really beneficial to us for the work that we do, using tabletop games to teach social skills to kids and teens. So games like Dungeons & Dragons in a nonprofit route. And we hemmed and hawed a little bit, and then we went back and forth, and we looked into it, and it turns out it's like a lot of work to make a nonprofit, as it's also kind of expensive to make a nonprofit.
Yeah, ironically.
Yeah. And so finally we decided a little more than a year ago, I would say, that we're doing it. We're going to go the nonprofit route. The work that we do is already pretty charitable, and we're essentially trying to get tabletop games out to people who can benefit from them. And as I'm sure you guys have seen, the opportunity for tabletop games to be great for you in all sorts of ways is really there. And then what we've been doing actually for the last 6 years, originally as a part of another organization, and then creating Wheelhouse Workshop, is using it in a very directed and therapeutic way to help with social skill development.
Here, so what are your backgrounds? So everything that you said is very interesting.
Sure.
But what are your credentials for saying these things?
So I have a master's in couple and family therapy, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist actually in the Kirkland area, and I specialize in seeing geeks and gamers in therapy.
And I have a master's in education with a specialization in drama therapy. And I've been a drama teacher for about 10 years. I worked in the public school system, worked at the Woodland Park Zoo for a little while.
There's definitely a drama nerd vibe. I mean, I picked up on that. Like, the first time I saw you, I was like, I could see your whole history.
He makes faces and talks in voices.
I do lots of faces and voices. It's part of it.
I'm a therapist, so I'm very...
Yeah.
I can see why you'd say that.
You know. And I appreciate it. But what is it? What's different about geeks and gamers, like from a therapeutic perspective, like... To the extent that it's something you can specialize in, there must be some best practices that exist in that particular community.
I mean, ultimately, it's a kind of a cultural specialty. It's far more about understanding the perspective of somebody who comes from a geek and gamer background. A lot of the work that I do is more about creating like a parallel from the interests that you have into the things that are going on in your life.
Oh, so basically leveraging all the existing like metaphors.
Right. And so like if I have a client who might play League of Legends or Dota 2 or something like that and talk about
you get the MOBA skills.
The MOBA skills. And how those are important and those are like impactful in your life and talking about how it's interesting, you play a lot of
support roles.
Characters. I wonder what that says about you. I wonder what that says about the role that you take on in other parts of your life. And maybe that's because you take on those roles because you need to, because you don't get a chance in other parts of your life.
Or because you need to get good. No.
Right. Or maybe that's because that's where you're comfortable.
Right.
And so like you're already doing that everywhere. This is where you're most comfortable doing that. And actually the work we do with role-playing games is very similar to that. It's very much about this idea of what is the character you're playing and how can you understand yourself through both playing that character as well as the opportunity to grow through the character that you have.
I was looking meaningfully
my whole deal. You can see the interviews about it on D&D Beyond.
Amy, because we had discussed it, we had talked about it before, early on. I think it was a period of time where Amy sort of resisted the idea that there was any walnut.
Because I didn't want people to know that it was like, oh, I got this chance to do this amazing thing, and it's like on Twitch every week, and I'm just gonna air my dirty laundry and just like do my own personal like mindfulness thing.
Yeah, right. But that's what makes like Walnut is like my wife Brenna. Like Walnut's Brenna's favorite character, and I think the reason it's her favorite character is because it's legit.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll also say, I don't think it's possible to play a character and not bring parts of yourself into it. I think everything you do, you can say, I'm going to make Batman, and I chose to play Batman over Green Arrow, who is also a wealthy millionaire superhero. But like the choice between the two has significance. There's like a reason why I pick one or the other, and of course there's a change in depth. If you're really digging in, if you're really understanding yourself, you get a lot more opportunity to put that into your character or understand the reflection between the two. Like in our personal games, Adam's had a lot of opportunity to like play through his character and even try to purposefully avoid putting parts into, and it doesn't matter at all. It all kind of comes out
in the end.
Yeah.
In the end,
it does not matter. I'm always revealing something about like abandonment issues. It always ends up. Yeah.
Well, I was very agitated to learn that my decision to only wear black shirts and blue jeans was a fashion choice. When I thought that it was actually like the opposite of a fashion. No, it turns out that you can't escape that game.
No,
and you're always communicating to other people with your choices.
You could go naked. It would be a fashion choice.
It would be a trade. It would be meaningful.
It would be meaningful.
It would have ramifications.
You could let somebody else pick your clothes for you, and it would still be a meaneful fashion choice that you're picking. That you're giving someone else.
If you guys have questions for either of our Adams, you can just put a hashtag. You can type hashtag question, and then the question that you want to ask, and I can pull it up off of this thing. But I had a couple on here that were actually ready to go already. Are you familiar with any games for young children that have a good therapeutic payload?
So first we should clarify that there's a benefit to sort of all role-playing games.
To all social.
Yeah, I mean you're being social and you're playing games with other people. That sort of space, actually the game today especially, and watching the game today, there was very little dice rolling. And there's very little sort of rules of the game that were necessarily going on.
Oh yeah, the C team is very social.
It was all role play. It was all storyline, and that space, that's that play space, and that can exist in kind of any tabletop role playing game. But there is a spectacular game that's really designed for a younger audience.
Yeah, so we actually used to run a younger kids group. Most of our kids go from right around 12 to right around early 20s. But we had enough interest for younger kids right around 9 or 10 that we opened up a younger kids group. And so we were playing the game No Thank You Evil.
Oh, by Monty Cook.
By Monty Cook, yeah, and Shannon Germain. And that one was perfect for younger kids. And the rule set is super simple, which is really nice. The world isn't as specific as Dungeons & Dragons, so there's not as much like scary stuff. You can be an astronaut on a team with a spy and a pirate. And it's just like an opportunity to role play. The characterization isn't as specific, so we found that it was a little bit more challenging to like make those personal connections with your character in a profound way, but the meat was still there for teaching team building skills and helping them like really work on what it means to sit down and be social with other kids, because a lot of kids in our groups are pretty socially isolated and haven't really built the opportunities to practice their skills. So even something like that's fantastic for those kids.
Yeah, I mean the social skills group that my son Elliot goes to, that I saw you guys at, I mean, that's specifically for kids on the spectrum. But you did not call that specific term out when you were talking about therapeutic payload for kids and teenagers. I mean, is it especially good for kids on the spectrum, or is it, or in general, do you think that there's just benefit to this type of play?
I mean, I do think there's maybe especially good for that audience because it teaches so much like frustration tolerance and flexibility, which are kind of tools that you already learn just by playing the game, and because it gives so much opportunity to be social, but in a clear context where the rules are very clear, and that kind of thing really appeals to individuals that are on the spectrum or that have those challenges.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna say that's more or less what it felt like. It seemed like that would make sense because, I mean, to my son Elliot, generally speaking, the way that people have to comport themselves all the time in the normal world is synonymous with lying. Like the frustration tolerance, like people are full of shit.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. And his instinct and the instinct of a lot of people in that context, it's just like, if you were full of shit and you were obviously lying, someone needs to stop you. Someone needs to have a conversation with you right now about how you're a liar and you're lying all the time and don't do it. Right? And so we have a game that we run at the house most Sundays, and it's almost all 11-year-olds. And watching them have to negotiate this space is completely fascinating. We've got like one power gamer in the group that's always trying to slit throats and interrogate goblins and shit.
Oh, sure.
Like, it gets a little dark. Everybody else is like, hey, let's make up a fantasy sport and let's compete with an imaginary team. We'll color our jerseys. And then it's like, all right, well, I deny him water. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm supposed to.
Wherever the power is, I have the power for water. You don't get any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so they all sort of approach it in a slightly different way.
It's actually interesting because we see a lot of similar challenges around like needing to feel powerful in the game, and a lot of that I think is around that exact idea, which is that if I exist in a world where I don't understand what people are saying, I don't understand a lot of the cues. People seem to have an understanding between each other that I'm not a part of.
The subtext.
I don't feel powerful, and in this game, I can be powerful. I can make decisions, and those decisions have impact, and I feel like I have control.
Well, and the interactions are all metered and gated and defined, which I think is the other really tricky part about that space. Is there's a lot of things specifically around, say, facial expressions. They're just hard. They're just very, very hard for him to parse. Like any extreme emotion, like any big emotion, he perceives as anger. Right? It's like, it's all boiled down. It's like, if you're feeling anything a lot, like I'll be really excited at something he did and be like, what? I'm like, no, this is good. I like all this. This is great. This is a very cool Lego thing, right? I'm not mad at the Legos. But you sort of see that situation all the time where the rules that some people kind of just absorb or they perceive in an ambient way, a lot of these sort of like context-oriented human interactions, like they'll pick them up. It's just going to take longer, but they're not at that point when other people are expecting them to have these skills.
Yeah, actually, that's why usually when we're talking about our sort of target audience, our target players for our games, we don't generally we'll say. Often we see kids that are on the spectrum or have anxiety or have ADHD, but the reality is we like to describe them as just lagging social skills. So they're learning those skills. They're just learning them. They're finding it more difficult, or they're not getting as much practice.
Exactly. Like that's been my experience. It's just sort of like asymmetric development. It's just sort of like they've got like a whole lot of points. I mean, listen, the RPG metaphors are very strong. It's like they have a bunch of points over here, and they don't have very many over here, and they're not even interested in this part of the character sheet.
Right.
You know, I mean, basically, like he's just min-maxed for a very specific type of fascinating creative intelligence.
But that's part of what makes Dungeons and Dragons and RPGs so meaningful as opportunities to practice social skills. Is to be good at the game, you have to work together as a team. You can't just stab each other all the time. Your team doesn't accomplish anything. You don't move along in the plot. So in order to be successful as an RPG player, you have to have some modicum of social skills. So we've seen groups get together and infight the whole time, and then our sessions are 90 minutes long. 90 minutes later,
I was going to say
nothing happens.
That is that is the perfect amount of time.
Yeah.
Like this is what I eventually figured out with my group, is that the 2.5 hours. Fuck no.
Yeah.
It's nuts. They're feral at that point.
We did 2 hours at the very beginning, and then we scaled it back. That was a sweet spot for us. But when kids have that experience of not being successful, of their social skills are not they're not adept enough in this social space to cooperate, move along in our plat. So then we can reframe back to them as the game masters, like, I'm gonna help you guys build a little bit of skills right now. And then they feel that like the intrinsic reward of being social, you were talking about min-maxing.
Yeah.
People that don't care about being social don't often put themselves in a place to develop those skills.
build those skills.
Where oftentimes people would build them naturally on a playground or in that sort of unstructured social space. But the role-playing game provides this perfect opportunity because it is semi-structured.
Yeah, it has a foot in both of those worlds.
But it's also the playground. It's totally a playground. Whereas like a lot of us grew up just freely going to playgrounds and like, I'm a cop, you're a robber, pew, pew, I shot you. And then Adam would say, no, you didn't. And I'd say, yes, I did. And then we would fight. We would figure out how to navigate that space. And now in the game, there's like dice you can roll.
There's actual rules.
Yeah,
That's how
which
to tell
lets
him when he's shot.
Adam deal with the frustration of getting shot, and me, dealing with what it looks like to be too proud of being shot.
Why did you win?
Because I rolled high.
Listen, so I can see this is still a problem. But here, I could seriously do this for 1,000 years. But if you guys have questions, you should ask these interesting people.
God, I have a lot of questions.
Dude, jump in.
I don't have anything formulated. Grab one from the audience. I didn't know that I was going to get to, so now
Oh no, it's so fast here. So Taurus Beestinger is a mental health professional here. Have you had any success with using D&D and guided imagery with depression and PTSD?
Great question.
I've had mixed results and would appreciate some tips. Thank you very much.
Oh, sure. So we haven't worked directly with PTSD. Although actually one of the goals of Game to Grow, as we stepped into this nonprofit world, we were like, we should do a lot more with this. Yeah. We should take this beyond what is just role-playing games and what is just social skill development. We should take this into all the things that we've dreamed about that games can be used to be good for you, and not just for kids. So what we decided is that Game to Grow's mission would be about games of all kinds. So role-playing games, but also tabletop and board games and video games, and figuring out how those games can be used in a direct way to benefit you therapeutically or educationally or in a community development way. And so that's actually the broader goal of Game to Grow. Along those lines, one of the things that we want to do down the line is work with veterans of PTSD. But we have had a lot of opportunity. There's a strong crossover and sort of a Venn diagram of individuals who are on the spectrum or who have ADHD and also depression. Because if I want to be social,
that seems true.
Yeah, if I want to be social, I want to reach out to other people, I want to have friends, and I have a really, really hard time doing that. Well, a lot of depression usually comes right along with those experiences. And so we have had a lot of opportunity in seeing good work through battling internal demons and sort of externalizing them through the game, which has been hugely, hugely helpful. And one of the ways that I might give some like advice on how to do that.
First advice: don't do therapy. If
don't
you're
do therapy if you're not a therapist. Yeah, that's the advice every therapist always has to give. But if that's a part of the game and you're a therapist, then it's really about identifying what is the sort of message and fear and worry of the internal idea that you're going at, and is there a way to create an externalization of that in the game
that's functional?
Right. Make that the bad guy. Make that a part of what you're struggling through, but give your character the opportunity to have tools to fight it. I might not be able to fight those things in my real life. The tools are much more difficult to grasp.
Yeah, they're abstract.
Right. But my character has swords and spells and magic items and can fight this demon and can pull meaning out of that idea.
Yeah.
As they go through that.
Hey,
I have a question.
Oh, please.
I want to jump in. Sorry.
No,
I have a real one.
This is what I want.
So, say you are struggling with mental illness, and one of the things that I've definitely found hard in the past is that I see that being social with people on a schedule is very good, but it's really hard to get to that. Like, say you're struggling with depression or something like that. Like, it's really hard to get to that session. Do you have, I don't know, like anything for people that are, just like showing up is like, that's a big part of it.
Oh,
right?
to scaffold, to sort of like scaffold up to the social resource.
And because like falling out of a routine is like so awful. So I'm just wondering if there's anything you do with that or whatever.
Sure. I mean, there's a couple of different parts to that, depending on whether or not the challenges are like a physical challenge of getting out of bed or getting out of the house, or those kinds of things. At which point, something like Roll20, being able to play games online, even over video chat, still provides a tremendous amount of benefit. You're still making stories. You're still playing a character. And then I guess the other side to it would be that the hurdle for getting into the game doesn't need to be quite as big as often it can be.
Tell me more about that.
We teach a lot of younger kids how to play using just straight Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
Yeah.
And the way we do that is with pre-made characters and with an understanding that we're going to teach you the game as you go along. The first day that you come in, you're gonna jump right into the game. And we do a lot of scaffolded role-playing parts of it. If all you want to do is come in and just roll some dice and swing a sword at some stuff and describe how you're swinging a sword, cool, that's great. That's a great place to start. And you can come into the game with just an expectation that it's not much more than playing a board game. Like, it's not much more than playing House on Haunted Hill.
Right.
But it can then be scaffolded to add little bits as you're going along, so that it never needs to be threatening. It never needs to be something that's bringing up that anxiety for you.
But yeah, it doesn't have to be a source of the anxiety.
Right. Exactly. You may be getting that anxiety from all sorts of other things. Right. That doesn't need to be the source of it.
Exactly. Hey, so a lot of people would like to hear an example of, like a specific example of a kid or a kid you worked with in terms of like, give us a moment, because we've talked about it in the abstract. Can you tell us about a specific, like, therapeutically tuned scenario, something that was useful in a D&D, like in an adventure or something like that, a specific challenge or...
Yeah, there's a particular player who came to us, this was years ago, and he was very socially isolated and hadn't developed some just being present with other people. And so one of the ways that he presented himself is he would sit at his chair with his knees in front of his face, and he would whisper.
Really?
He wouldn't talk very loud, and so it was interfering with his ability to make friends, and I talked to his parent, and they were saying, maybe you could do something with this. And what was interesting is this player had also, when we let them choose their character, chose a dwarf barbarian. So there's already some of that projective, like, okay, this is a person who wants to play with...
They want to reach out.
Being loud, boisterous, and whatever. And I had made this background of this character as sort of a stoic dwarf who had failed in defending his king. And was exiled from his community.
Right.
So I made the character as like kind of stoic, and he played the dwarf as like bumbling and loud, and would do it all in description. So he wasn't like playing his character. He was saying like,
yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with how much the player is internalizing their character. But in this case, this player was like, my character is going to grab the bread as the person who's walking by, because I had them. I forgot this part of the story. I had them, so the thing that I set up in the game was that I had that their characters all had to infiltrate a fancy dinner party. And so they did so by pretending to be royalty from a neighboring made-up town. And so they came in, they got fancy clothes at the shop, and of course I was playing the shopkeep who sold them all the clothes and described it all. And then
theater nerd.
Theater nerd, and I do it all. I made makeup on and stuff. It was great. So they went into the dinner party, and I had them sit at the table like their characters were sitting at the table. So now
there you go.
I'm choosing.
You map it exactly.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, how is your character, who's pretending to be a king, so how would a king sit at the table? So your character is pretending to be a king. Your character might not necessarily know how a king would sit, because he's a dwarf barbarian, but so I had him sort of sit at the table, and then I'm playing all of the NPCs who think he is a king, who think he's king even though he's pretending to be a king.
Yeah.
And who think he's doing the right thing. So I described that everyone's like looking at you, so excited, and they see that your fists are on the table, so they put their fists on the table. And then this player was getting really excited about it, and I had him as his character at the dinner party, like reaching over and grabbing loaves of bread from the waiters that are walking by, and I was like, how does your character eat like this like little Squid Ink gnocchi thing on the table? And he was like, well, I pick up the plate and I just slurp all the food and it's going down my face. And I had like everybody else at the tables picking up the food and slurping down. So there's food everywhere.
Oh, man.
And
that is sick.
Yeah, this player had an opportunity to think about how his body language impacts the world around
How
him.
his body at all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for him to be in his body. That's a big part of the drama therapy that I sort of bring to the table in our dynamic duo.
Right.
And a lot of that's the embodiment work. So I want the players to think about how their character sits and how their character interacts with the world.
Well, it's a way to have ownership over it, right? Of your own body.
Yeah, and I can describe things when a lot of things like subtext isn't picked up on.
Yes.
Right? I can say like, he's raising his eyebrows in a way that makes you think he's suspicious.
Ooh, that's
And so
hot.
I'm modeling, and then they can say, oh, this is what a suspicious look might be. Or like, he raises his eyebrows like he's really excited and impressed.
Hot.
Nods his head just ever so slightly.
That is very. I suspect that is very helpful. Honestly, hey, so some people have real problems that they need help with. Cobra94 wants to know how we can use gaming to bond with stepkids.
Oh.
So dish up these answers.
Oh yeah.
Help us.
Let's assume that Cobra, that you've got time that you're spending with stepkids and that you're playing.
They could be very young snakes, just hatched.
Yeah. If you're playing the game, most of this is play. Most of it's about this idea that you're coming in and you're creating a play space where there's trust and safety involved in it. And so if you're coming in and you're making it a place where they can sometimes be rowdy or be go against the grain or the rules of the game, but you make it clear that the risks that they take are risks that are about the in-game stuff, that there's no danger to them coming to the table and being a part of it.
Yeah.
And you can still set down boundaries. You can still say like, oh, nope, you failed that roll, or you succeeded that roll, or turns out you don't have a computer in your bag of your adventure, even though you want that to be the case. You can still set those boundaries, but then make this a fun, playful space for them to be a part of. So really, honestly, the biggest thing that I would say is use it as an opportunity to be playful with them. As adults and kids, there's very little of that exchange
to
that goes
overlap,
back and forth. Yeah.
right?
And this is a place where you can be the dungeon master or the game master, and you can say, what we're going to do is we're going to play. And it's a space where both you as the adult can be like, this is the logical parts of this, here's the rules of the game, and the kids can come in and tell stories, and you can be there with them.
Well, listen, and that's true even for grown-ups. Honestly, like even if you have a group that's all grown-ups, like the C team, like there'll often be questions about can I do this or can I do this? It's like I have to remind them that we're playing Dungeons and Dragons once or twice an episode. That this is a place where we get to mess around like that, and it's legit. Have you ever had any pushback? And I believe that might happen from time to time. Do you ever encounter people who think that these tools are not sophisticated or precise enough for what you're trying to do with them?
Can I say one more thing to Cobra?
Yeah.
So I just want to highlight, I think Adam said the word play very specifically, but I think that's the most important takeaway for what you should do with your kids is play with them, don't game with them. There's oftentimes like we have the need to sit down and do something, so we have this sort of mediated activity, and then we sit down and we do this thing, but sometimes that thing is not fun. And you're just kind of doing this thing, and you're wanting it to be over, but like we're supposed to be doing this as a family. This is the thing we're doing.
Yeah, this is
Sit down,
Don't
play
get up,
Dungeons and
come back
Dragons.
here.
No, this is that quality time.
Great quality time, capital Q.
Right.
And that's the thing that I would say is that the game you're playing is, if you're not playing it, if you're wanting it to be over, change games. That's like the most important thing that I would say is that games are not the answer. It's the play that's the answer. It's bringing that space together where you can be yourself and you can be silly. Perhaps you can. You know you're playing if you don't really care that much about the game.
You negotiate a little bit.
Yeah.
So to answer the pushback question.
Yeah.
So we've had pushback on certainly the side of like parents or adults who there's still a fair amount of like devil worship ideas behind.
This is what I was thinking, right? Because that was true. That was certainly true when I was a kid. But is there still somebody who thinks that?
Oh yeah.
We don't get that much like pushback because those people just don't click on our links and don't send us emails. So we don't actually see a lot of that. The only time that we've seen it was actually at a convention where we had a table. It was a homeschool convention. And we had a table, and there was one single person whose daughter who like hung out with us because they were, wandering around the con and was like, you guys have a bunch of dice and we're going to tell stories together. And so this woman's daughter wanted to join our groups. And this one woman said, no, she knew somebody in the 80s who had been like pulled into Satanism.
Oh yeah, that was the classic.
And my favorite thing she said was, I don't know you from Adam.
Both of us were wearing name tags that said Adam on them.
Really interesting.
we are Adam.
Yeah.
So maybe you do know us.
You might know us better than you think.
That's really the only thing. We have had lots of people in the anonymity of the internet say things like, "Get your therapy out of my game." We don't want that stuff in my sacred Dungeons and Dragons space.
There we go.
Which is an interesting level of pushback from like geek community for sure.
Oh yeah, where it's an internal policing, right?
And I don't want to make my therapy into your game. That's not. I want you to come to us if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not trying to go change how you play.
It sounds like they might actually need a little bit. So let me hit you up with one more.
Sure. We love questions.
Gaming communities can be associated with toxic behavior. You were talking about LOL and stuff like that before. What are some of the causes of this, and what do you think communities can do to improve? Like as people who are engaged with therapy, I mean, a lot of it is face to face. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, there's definitely, a huge amount of toxic community around competitive games.
I see.
And there's no line to the link of those two things. If you have an entirely cooperative game, it's much harder to be generally toxic in a game like that. But in competitive games, especially high competition games, first-person shooters or MOBA games, that's going to come up as a natural consequence of both anonymity and competitive nature. Honestly, this is maybe a super, super big question, and something that
we can bring you back.
Giant companies have been trying to problem solve for years and years now. What I will say is either it's an increase in competitive gaming or an increase in the need for control and anonymity that has brought about a much greater influx of that level of toxicity in a lot of competitive games. And I don't actually have a direct answer to that kind of thing especially within the video game atmosphere.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up as much in tabletop games. It certainly does.
Well, I was going to say, it does happen. I mean, I've seen it. Like, there's sometimes that person doesn't get to play anymore.
Right.
But that's the solution. It's like the kick ban that happens at a real table sticks. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You don't get to make a new account.
No. They can't just pay $10 more and come back in. I know who it is. You know?
I will say, at the table, one of the great tools that we love to use is if somebody's being kind of toxic, or if they are kind of turning around, they're kind of backstabbing the group a little bit. We like to put it on the character rather than to put it on the player.
I think that's clever.
So when somebody goes like, "No, I steal his gold and stab him in the back," and then I might be like, "Oh wow, your character is super, super aggressive and doesn't trust the other players, the other characters in his party." And give them a chance to sort of reflect on it.
What a weird line to watch, right? Because before it's about trying to make sure they're embodied and make sure they're in there. But with these negative aspects, you're saying, hey, this happened as a result of this character. So for the negative aspects, you try to make some distance.
Yeah, that's like a key like linchpin to the kind of work we do is when a player is needing to experience the success, we can, as the game masters, if for example, there's a player who's trying to like work on like self-advocacy, right? And their character, they will say, oh, my character is going to like tell the army to rally. And I can sort of like scaffold that a little bit. What do you say? How do you do that? And then eventually I will say, these soldiers look at you and they see in your eyes such confidence and such boldness that they will follow you to the gates of hell. And then that person can take on sort of the strength of their character. But there's lots of other times where, we said earlier, players make characters for a reason. They're choosing to play with a lot of their often maladaptive behaviors. So there's a lot of like extreme independence that looks like backstabbing or fixation on collecting gold and things like that.
Dragon sickness. Sure.
So we can totally in those cases put it on the character. Or if a character like messes up, right? If a low roll, whoa, your character's pretty frustrated about that role right now. I had just the other day, I had infighting between my players because they needed to pay somebody 200 gold to teleport them or something like that. And one player had all the gold and the other had no gold. So they were trying to convince him to be the one to donate all the gold for this experience. And he did not want to give up his gold. He was like, we're going to barter, we're going to find some gold before I give up any of my gold. And I was like, oh, this character is a dwarf, and not to be stereotypical, but this dwarf is like, he's got his
hoarding a little.
He's hoarding a little bit, right? And I did that, and then the strategy that I did for the other players was like treat him like an NPC, Because when I'm the NPC, you do more than just threaten and yell at me. When I'm the NPC, you like go through your strategies. So now we're going to try that here at the table, where you're going to treat that player like an NPC, and you're going to
Use all your skills.
And I would say, so I can like maestro this a little bit and say, what is the thing that would convince your character to give up that gold? And then he'll be like, well, I guess it would be this.
Right.
And then I'll say, okay, try that. Try explaining it that way. Cool, you got the gold, perfect. We're moving on.
Nice. Yeah. That's the killer combo. I can hear the sound effect. Adams, both Johns and Davis of Game.
You got it right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Motherfucker. Listen up, kid. So thanks so much for rolling through. But I suspect that we could talk fruitfully for another hour at least. We should have you back on as you guys are progressing further into your new venture, especially once you have some adventures and stuff like that available. It'd be really neat to sort of get those out to people so they can see what it looks like, the handmade adventure with the therapeutic payload would be just on sheet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to do that.
Well, hey, thanks so much, Shadow Council. We will be back with Table Talk momentarily.
Can we plug real quick before?
Yes, oh yeah. Fire away.
We have a crowdfunder campaign that I would be remiss if I did not mention.
Oh, no, you have every opportunity.
It's
this is Dungeons and Dragons.
GameToGrow.org/support. And I wanted to thank you for being part of our video.
Yeah. I have absolutely no problem. I really support the work you guys are doing, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hello. I'm Jerriford K. Harkins, and this is everybody who's here with her.
Oh my God.
Hey, that's Cthulhu Straub, Smoker Walnut, D-Real.
What up?
Hey, so for some reason, and I don't have 100% knowledge of why, but
Chocolate?
No, chocolate's gross.
Whoa, table talk.
Stop.
Table talk, yeah.
It has to be like. Yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of people watching. I have a theory about why, but the main thing is that this is Acquisitions Incorporated, the C team. We're missing our precious Rosie, which is a bummer, but we've been at this since right after PAX East in April.
31
This is our 31. This is our 31st episode.
Wow.
You can get it on podcast. You can get it on to YouTube's. It's on our Twitch channel as well. We've been doing this show with Hyper RPG. We've been having a super good time doing it. Occasionally we give stuff away. Alyssa, I want to simulate a bwom bwom bwom. Bwom 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 bwom.
Big
Whoa,
roll,
20!
Amazing.
I am going to give away.
I was gonna actually just start rolling until we hit one.
I'm going to give away one of these cool hex
19.
chests from the Elderwood Academy
I got 19. What's that get?
that I super like. Check this.
7.
Oh, hey, so we need to do all of our stuff.
Yeah.
All of our classic traditions. One of our traditions, of course, is to choose an MVP.
The shovel.
Fine.
Well, no, we can choose an MVP. So we do this ritual to honor an inanimate object each week. What is that?
No, it's good. I wanted to give it to the seed pod, but the shovel's so much funnier, and I'm mad that is the MVP.
Oh yeah, the Nemazir seed pod. No love.
Nope.
You know what? You need a shovel to
You need a
plant
shovel.
seed.
Yeah,
So-
exactly, right? What's the
Very
sound of one
hands are-
shovel digging, you know?
It just sounds like a we know what it is.
Yeah.
Like there is a sound there.
It's
Like
actually the atom of that
Normal.
sound is,
Yeah.
that is what that is. It's an identity.
that metaphor is no bueno. No. Do
extra
you
bueno.
do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I'm good. I think we're good. I think we can just end it here.
It's great.
No, just wrap
This
it
is
up.
strong
Yeah.
ending.
This is a good app. This is a good app.
There's a mystique.
No, it was
Gotta leave them wanting more, you know?
They're gonna want a lot more, like the end.
Yeah, like any content.
No one's concerned about the people turned to stone.
Oh no!
Inside a crypt?
I think that's awesome.
I thought you were going to say, I think that's good, and we will survive.
I'm so glad they didn't. No, like the idea of I think I've mentioned this to you once a long time ago, but it was Neverwinter. It was Neverwinter Nights.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, but there was
The Bioware one. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a quest in there where this town, like you arrive at the town and everybody's just frozen, and it's because two gods were deciding the fate of the town and they couldn't decide, so they just froze it until they
kicks
could find
ass.
an adjudicator.
That's pretty cool.
There were so many
Yeah.
great adventures in that. Like, and they were a cut above. Like, it wasn't like a computer. It wasn't like a CRPG type quest. They had a lot of stuff that felt like D&D to me.
Well, that's what made me love Druids was their shapeshifting.
Oh, their
stuff.
take. Oh yeah, at the click of a button.
At the click of a button, and also the plague stuff they did in their what was it Underdark? I forget what it was. It was one of the expansions, but it was like basically a plague.
Yeah.
It was very good.
No, but that reminded me, like, I bet we'd get those guys out of there.
Oh yeah.
Wonder.
No, you're this team. This
Yeah.
premium team.
And I don't just mean haul the statues back as trophies. I mean to free them.
Oh man,
And then we can deposit them.
no, one of the coolest things they did. I'm trying to remember. It was the Untitled expansion. Did you ever play that one?
Yeah.
Which one was Untitled?
Fucking gross. It was so sick. It had to do with that there was that Medusa.
Oh, I didn't play that.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the best. Basically, the second act ends with the entire party being turned to stone.
Wiggity what?
And then the third act begins with you as statues in her private collection.
Yeah.
And then one of her servants comes and frees you all. I was just like, what are you even talking about? This is what I mean. Like, I'm not getting like 5.
Were you about to throw shade at Sierra?
Well, no, I'm not going to say, like, I'm not going to get like 5 alligator dicks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, shit's going to be real for a second here. Like, that feels like some real stuff.
I thought you were about to say this isn't like a Sierra adventure game. I don't know why I thought I heard that word, and I was like,
no.
Keep my son's name out of your mouth.
No, because the Sierra games that combined RPG style combat and adventuring, those were fucking sick.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're amazing, and I hope that they all come to iOS and Android.
Well, they deserve it. Oh man, it's great stories.
No, we deserve it.
We deserve
Give it back to us.
But no, it's crazy to think. Obviously, episode 31 truncated, but it's crazy to think that
It was good stuff, though.
that we came all the way back around to the Wandering Crypt, which sort of popped out there. It was like the 7th episode, maybe. Like it was just sort of suggested, and then there was a lot of chasing around, and then other adventures, and then somehow the C team became a romance.
Yeah.
There's romance, and then it became, I don't know,
Yeah.
like all the family stuff.
Yeah, I thought that it was gonna. I really thought that the campaign is about the Wandering Crypt, right?
Sure.
But in practice, it's not. In practice, it's about family.
The crypt,
Hey,
The crypt is a metaphor. It's a metaphor for
The
family.
crypt is inside us all along.
I actually would like to say that is why my character name is what it is, because I thought I was playing in a campaign where it was okay to have a name like Jim Dark Magic, and nope, it's very serious and cool.
Very-
About Donner Blitzen.
Dinar Blitzen.
Hey, no.
It has to do with.
I love mine. I'll own that
It
forever.
has to do with where you put the emphasis.
Yeah.
Like the Dinar Blitzen
Yeah.
actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's true.
And my name
Right.
is great. I like my own name, so
Yeah.
I can't. Why would I shit on that?
I love myself. My character's me.
Good.
So
and it's a great character.
31 weeks. This show's like 12 in dog years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it came back around. It's interesting to me that, like I said, I really thought the whole thing would just be about that, but that's not how it worked at all. It ended up getting a lot. It ended up getting a lot better because I had to incorporate other people in it. What is the plan for C Team next week? The plan is that it will be impossible to do because I will be in Australia.
Same.
F o'clock, same, and Amy too. So
In spirit.
no.
No.
Australia?
You
Consider
have to go
it.
now.
Yeah, you should consider it. It's fun.
Get there.
Nope. Send me all that money right now. No.
We would do the C team there.
Yeah,
if
well-
you're not going. So
And also, Kate's not going.
Well, if you
here's the
screw it
thing.
up, we don't need Kate.
Actually, don't need the 3 of you. Alyssa, Kate, and I will. But consider it.
but so do you know? Is this your walnut dongrass hairstyle in preparation for PAX Unplugged?
Yeah.
Live game
Yes.
with a little bit of that cosplay.
I'm trying to channel her power, and also I want to cosplay her. So yes.
It's both things. And she's making Foremother too, right?
She's not making Foremother. Sam made Foremother, and he finished it, and it is on its way to me. And I will not be able to. I wouldn't be able to do a show next week anyway because I will be hysterically
Oh, we're
celebrating.
gonna put Kathy.
Yeah. He'll be celebrating. But so yeah, next week you can't do it, but the week after, back on our grind, November 2nd, November 9th, and then, of course, the week after that is the PAX Unplugged game that we're going to be doing live. So that's our Christmas special, but don't forget, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, Cali, right? Pacifico. Twitch.tv/Twitch Presents or on our channel /Penny Arcade. You'll be able to grab our Halloween amuse-bouche set in the Doomgate Inn. If you don't know what that is, get good. Check out the archive, feast on it. Get what you need. Junebugs wants to know if this is every Thursday.
Yeah, it's the shovel.
Yeah.
So take it.
Yeah. Junebug wants to know if this is every Thursday. And it is, generally speaking, it is.
And it's
I mean,
longer.
we've only missed it twice.
Yeah.
And that was because we were at PAX shows. So that's the other thing that a lot of the people here are at, is one of the PAX conventions doing this, that, and the other. So if you're just getting into it, Junebugs, fear not. Go back, hit the archive. That'll make this one make a lot more sense. And then come back to us for the 2nd and the 9th as well.
Watch Z's animations.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and a catch-up episode on the Penny Arcade YouTube.
Yeah, we have an episode that'll get you caught up to the 1st through the 4th episodes about.
Yeah.
And so we're doing another catch-up episode that's in process right now, just to help you save some time catching back up. Archibald Zanzibar says, when can we see the TwitchCon C-Team show? 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Their channel or ours, Delish. Oh!
Perfect. Screen cap it. Freeze.
Yep.
And freeze.
Parents?
Check it out.
Oh! Now, Lucilich wants to know what is a Malith and a Maliki.
So,
Here, so I was going to say we have a resident expert
so
who would be more than happy to explain to you.
real quick, this is the TLDR version. Walnut belongs to a grove called the Enclave Panax Anima, and they traditionally had 2 goddesses. One was Maliki and one was Malith. At one point, Malith was seen to be a betrayer, and they primarily focused on.
She stopped
Maliki.
answering prayer.
She stopped answering prayer, and they took that as a not good thing. But so then when we were in the crypt, the representation was the horn. That's like the traditional D&D Maliki. So that's like that,
Exactly.
that real flavor.
So Maliki is a classic Forgotten Realms goddess, doing the nature elf type stuff.
Hunt.
Exactly. Malith is something from the C-Team campaign. Basically, it's a reinterpretation of that relationship.
Lovers.
DK Drew, indeed. Yeah. In our setting, their union basically founded the world. DK Drew, imagine, if you will, a dark C-Team. What would your dark counterparts be? Ooh, this is a good question. Same or different classes? So if we had to do like Acquisitions Incorporated Knights.
Oh, would it be like Bizarro versions of ourselves?
Yeah,
like the
basically, yeah.
blonde bombshell
is it like your
cheerleader
flip?
druid?
Yeah.
Yeah, would
Not
we
a
be all
druid
like-
anymore, I bet.
Yeah, would
Yeah,
we
you're
all like? I would just do a different patron, I guess. Probably just be a warlock again, but like the devil one.
Yeah, is it?
The fiend.
Because I mean,
The
devil.
There's a reason why I did not pick that one.
Well, no, for me, I think of Cathris as fairly dark.
Yeah.
I think of Walnut as a pretty dark character, also.
That's why I'm saying that we would have to play Walnut as a bard.
Yeah.
Where she's,
the
like,
mirror
super
universe.
outgoing, yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Indeed. Hey, now, Alyssa, do we have a winner for this treasure?
Soon.
Uh-oh.
Here, you find out.
What's yours? You gonna go some
Yeah, what's
Like
your
a sniveling little scammer guy.
Like a little tiny
little weak,
lizard
scammy little
boy?
guy.
It's sort of like a rat person.
Like a little, like a little, like a slimy carnival barker kind of, like a carny. A carny, a little sniveling carny scammy guy.
Yucky.
Who jumps in front of carts and then sues them.
Actually,
what?
What did you say?
Spiral Prime.
Spiral Prime.
Great. Spiral
Womp,
power.
Womp, womp, womp.
First one
Womp, womp, womp.
from the first line.
Shadow Council, Mayor Labors, please you.
Should I forge Kate's?
No, we have to get her to the side.
We'll see her Saturday.
Yes,
be just fine.
Yes, we will bring this with us, won't we, Alyssa? down to TwitchCon, and we'll make sure that Kate signs it as well.
I'll even leave a
Also,
space for her.
If you go to reddit.com/r/thecteam, there is a TwitchCon meetup thread that people are posting in.
Oh, that could be a treat.
Yeah, so I know there are some people that are going to meet up, and that is a place where people are figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, that's it. So Faulty, is the C team doing any meetups or signings for TwitchCon?
Yes.
Hit up the Reddit.
There's no
Right.
official meet time. That's just for like fans. I don't know if we can fit anything into our schedule, but I know that maybe we'll try. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's very tight.
Jackbox.
Jackbox.
Oh, yeah, we'll
That's
be at the
right.
Jackbox
We'll be at the
panel.
Jackbox panel.
Exactly. We're gonna get C team
5
gonna
p.m.
rock it.
5 p.m. We'll be at their stage, at their booth.
5 p.m. Hey, Baron Foro, will the TwitchCon and or PAX live shows be taped and shown? Absolutely. 100%.
Before a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Better applaud.
yeah, Twitch.
Hard.
It'll be there live on our Twitch. It'll be auto-hosted. It'll be on the PAX channels itself, and then the VOD is up almost immediately after. So it's pretty easy to keep up with the C Team stuff if you want. And then to make matters even more delectable, our producer Josh tends to grab the audio as well and make it available as a podcast. I know.
Delightful. And
The show
accessible.
that keeps on giving.
Nope, he grabs it. We want to try to make it as easy as possible. Are there any more cues in the queue?
It's fine, I
Stick
can
some
vamp
cues
forever.
in the
Elitha.
maze.
Let's talk about the anime we're watching.
Inuyasha.
I finished
Zero.
Kokoro's basketball.
I'm watching
All of Mob 100 I just finished.
Little Witch Academia, the series. Thank you, Netflix. If you're watching, I love
Oh,
you.
are you new to it?
No, I'd watched the movies and I was saving the series for like a dark and stormy day, and it was like,
Oh my
But you.
gosh. This last week has been grotesque.
Just been thinking about a lot of anime as a subject,
concept.
like scholarly,
Dragon Ball Super.
really high
Still
level.
goofy.
Yeah.
I like it as a guilty
Pokemon,
pleasure.
I've been watching a couple.
What's the
Pokemon
one by
episodes.
the Vampire Weekend guy?
Who? You mean, are you talking about your boy, Neo Yokio?
Yeah.
Jaden Smith?
I like that a lot.
It's awful. We'll talk about it after this.
It is great
Here, no, hold on.
in a bad way.
The Scotty Mo wants to know how you spell the EPA's full name. We discussed it in the chat today, can't decide. And part of the reason you can't decide is because Amy keeps changing it.
No, that's not true. You
how
just
they
keep
get you.
messing it up. On Acq Inc., you said PAX.
Yeah.
You just want to call it PAX because you have a show called PAX.
No,
it's always been Panax, and I have the original text receipts from my other DM to prove it.
Well, no, I know that.
Blimey.
I know that. And I was calling it Panax Anima, but then you said it was Pax Anima.
That's
And it was
When?
always that way. That's what you said.
No, I
true.
said the
Take a
other
vote.
way around. Take a vote, Dinar. Who's right?
Amy, you are tearing this family apart.
Amy's right.
Amy's right.
Dun, da, 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 Panax. Panax space
And then-
ANIMA.
Yeah, Panax ANIME.
BANANAS.
A-N-Q.
Hey, listen,
Tell 'em.
Shadow Council, this shit is bananas. Thanks so much for spending your Thursday evening with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hey, don't forget, going to be rocking it 2 to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time at the Twitch. Next week, no regular C-Team game, but then right after we get right back into it, final arc called Dran Incorporated. Going to be pretty exciting stuff. I super can't wait. This is basically like all my character self-insert fantasies, like from a decade of playing Omen Dran. Super excited to wrap this first part of the story up. Super excited to start the second season. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you next time.